So we have been discussing, as you see, the prayers of Prahlāda, or more specifically, the section of Canto 7 where, there she is, where Prahlāda Maharaj is pacifying Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. And he's been pretty successful because Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva calmed down. He was pacified. And now Prahlāda is going to offer some wonderful, wonderful prayers in glorification of the personality of Godhead. But I have a few little surprises for you all. Well, some surprises for those of you that have been with us for the first 5 parts. And that is, there's some additional information that I'm going to be sharing with you. But these slides that have the brown background are not the next verses of these prayers. Could you turn the volume down a little or something? Thanks. This is a list of some of the scriptural texts where the story of Prahlāda Maharaj is narrated. And as you can see, it's a long list. Padma Purana's Uttarakanda. It's a narration between Lord Shiva and Parvati. Hari Bhakti Vilas. We're going to make a reference to Hari Bhakti Vilas. I think I will need to explain what Hari Bhakti Vilas is, because we're going to make reference to it. In simple language, Hari Bhakti Vilas is a how-to manual. How to observe Ekadasi, how to have weddings, how to perform initiations, how to worship the deity, how to observe Janmashtami, how to observe Ekadasi, how to manual. A little background to help bring us a little focus. The background is the text itself was authored by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and then when he was matured, he moved to Vrindavan and gave the manuscript to Sanatana Goswami with 2 requests. Put this in a publishable form, because it was like notes on how to this and that. Because Gopal Bhatta Goswami, before he was a Goswami, he was the son of Venkata Bhatta, who was the chief priest in Sri Rangam. So probably most of you, anyone from South India certainly knows what Sri Rangam is, and the rest of you probably also know. His father was the chief priest in a line of a family line. So Gopal Bhatta was qualified like anything and learned all of the procedures of how to everything from the Sri Vaishnava contingent there in Sri Rangam. And all of those how-to teachings are from Scripture. They didn't just pull it out of the air. It's scriptural. So he compiled the scripture with scriptural reference how to do all these things. And Gopal, when he was just a young boy, very young boy, a young sannyasi named Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Sri Rangam for 4 months of the rainy season. And every day, he had Lord Chaitanya's association. So he received the teachings of the Sri Vaishnavas from his father and all of their associates, and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he became a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as did his uncle, means his father's brother. His father's brother gave him Diksha, and his father's brother when Gopal moved to Vrindavan, he moved to Vrindavan. It's a little background about this one book, Hari Bhakti Vilas. It's a very detailed, elevated text, and we're going to hear a passage from it, so you get an idea. And it makes reference to many, many, many scriptural sources and compiles it in a consolidated fashion. It's a nice book. And Prahlāda Maharaj's narration is told there. And Vishnu Dharmotara's Nṛsiṁhadeva. Anyway, there you see the list. These are scriptural sources where the pastime of Prahlāda and Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva coming to protect him are narrated. Here's a nice book. And I'm going to read a passage from this nice book. I think it's good to give a little background on some of these things, because the background means I'm introducing you to personalities. So Gopal Bhatta was one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Here is a text written by another one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. His name was Sanatana Goswami. He was the eldest, and therefore respected, in part because he was elder, but also because he was vastly learned. And this is a very interesting composition. It's Sanatana Goswami's composition, and he wrote a commentary on all the verses. And the book is a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. But a very interesting commentary. It's not a verse-by-verse commentary. It's this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us kind of commentary. It's really nice. I could give you some background, but I think I'm just going to go. There's 2 parts. This is part 1. And then the part 2 has 2 volumes of equal size of this. So it's like 3-volume book. And all of it, this is just English translation of his writing and commentary on his writing. Brihat means big. And Bhagavat is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Amrita, Bhagavatamrita. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Commentary. So part 1 begins with a scene where there are a number of sages, including Narada Muni, and they're visiting a holy place, and the sages are taking bath in the holy place, and then having conversation, katha, on topics from the scriptures. And then as they're seated together, they start to ponder a particular topic. Who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the personality of Godhead? Who is the greatest recipient of the personality of Godhead? And they're discussing. They turn to Narada Muni, who is certainly an authority, and they make a request. All the sages request, Narada, can you do this research and report back to us with your findings? Who is the greatest? So, at the request of very qualified, elevated brahmanas, Narada accepts. And he starts going from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And one of the persons he goes to, chapter 4, is Prahlāda. And when he goes from the previous person to the next person, he starts reciting the glories of this next person that he heard from the previous person. This glory, that glory. You're the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. And then each one of them, being humble, they say, no, 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 no. Here's why I'm not that person. I'm disqualified this way, that way, the other way. They speak in humble respects about themselves. And that's the pattern And the final conclusion, would you like to know who's the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy? The residents of Vrindavan. And amongst the residents of Vrindavan, you want to guess who's the greatest recipients of the mercy of Krishna? The gopis. And there's a fantastic description going, it's not snobbery, it's relative. There's qualitative reception of the mercy of Krishna. And the fullest is Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan, because our topic here is Prahlāda and Nṛsiṁhadeva. We heard this the first class, according to Laghu Bhagavatamrita. This is Brihat. It's heavy. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Laghu means light. His younger brother, Rupa Goswami, wrote that one. And, the thickness is about this thick, just one volume instead of 3. It's a description, Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a description of avatars of Vishnu. And what does an avatar mean? And what are the categories? There's many categories of avatars. In that section which we discussed the very first class, Prabhava is a term that applies to to Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, those 3, because they're all in the all are in the category of Vishnu Tattva, because they're avatars, so the same Tattva, Vishnu Tattva. But of all the Vishnu Tattvas, some are exhibiting more, and some are slightly less, and some slightly less, and there's descriptions of this in Scripture. And those that are exhibiting the most complete form of the fullness of the bhagas of Bhagavan are these 3. Lord Ramachandra, Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, and Krishna. And Krishna is the fullest because he's the source of all avatars. That's the conclusion of Laghu Bhagavatamrita, but it's a fascinating literature with lots of course, scriptural reference, but details of some very amazing understandings. So Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva is in that category of next to Ramachandra. He is most exalted amongst all the Vishnu Tattva forms. And Prahlāda was his dear devotee, in the same superlative category. So when now back to Brihat Bhagavatamrita, when Narada comes to visit Prahlāda, he's, in ecstasy. You're the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, who could be a greater recipient of the mercy of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva than Prahlāda? So here's a passage. Just going to read one verse, chapter 4, text 11. Prahlāda is speaking to Narada. Narada is speaking to Prahlāda, describing his glories. You, Prahlāda, once went to the Naimisha forest, Naimisharanya, to have darshan of Narayana, who is known as Pitavas, the Lord of yellow cloth. While on the road, you satisfied the Lord in combat, and he told you, yes, I am always conquered by you. That's a verse by Sanatana Goswami, and here's the commentary by Sanatana Goswami. From the Vamana Purana, there's a history narrated where once Prahlāda took a trip to Naimisharanya to see Lord Pitavas, the beautiful form of the Supreme Lord. While traveling on the road, he met a strange person who was dressed like an austere renunciate, but was carrying a warrior's bow and arrows. Prahlāda assumed from this person's contradictory attire that he must be some hypocrite, abusing the true principles of religion. Therefore, Prahlāda, now he's at this stage, he's no longer just a little boy, he's a king. Prahlāda started a fight with the sannyasi, vowing, "I swear I shall defeat you." But even after several days of dueling, Prahlāda could not subdue his adversary. Paragraph. Early one morning, before resuming the battle, Prahlāda worshipped his personal deity. Guess who his personal deity was? Yes. He then saw his opponent standing nearby wearing the same garland that he just offered to the deity. 2 + 2 = 4, right? Usually. Thereupon, offering prayers to that opponent, the sannyasi wearing the garland, with all the competence at his command, Prahlāda tried to satisfy him. In response, the Lord touched him with his lotus hand, which relieved Prahlāda from the fatigue of fighting, same as what happened to Prahlāda when Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva placed his paw on his head. Relieved Prahlāda from the fatigue of fighting and from all anxiety. Prahlāda asked Lord Pitavas what to do about having transgressed the duty of a Kshatriya, because he was a Kshatriya, Prahlāda, by having made a promise, namely to defeat his opponent, and not having fulfilled it. Right? I mean, not only Parshuram upheld his word, Yudhisthira upheld his word. A good Kshatriya upholds his word. There's a nice description in the first canto about Maharaj Parikshit, that he maintains his word just like Lord Ramachandra. Whatever he promised, he would maintain his promise. But I made a promise, I made a vow that I would defeat you. And I haven't fulfilled it. The Lord, fully satisfied by the sport of fighting with Prahlāda, told him, "But I am always defeated by you." And that's very similar to one of the verses that we discussed in Prahlāda's teachings. I'm going to repeat some for those of you that didn't catch the earlier classes. There's a very nice verse, amongst other nice verses, where Prahlāda is saying, giving a nice teaching, that says that when a worshiper worships you, the benefit goes to the person who's doing the worship, because by satisfying you, the Lord shows then his mercy to the devotee, and the devotee becomes decorated with the Lord's mercy. And that's the satisfaction of the devotee. It's a reciprocation of love. The devotee serves the Lord showers his mercy upon the devotee, and anything and everything becomes at the devotee's disposal by the mercy of the Lord. But the devotee doesn't want something, and the Lord doesn't want something. So what is it that's going on with devotional service? Loving exchange. Isn't it nice? Thus, Pitavasa says to Prahlāda, "I'm always conquered by you, always defeated by you." There's a nice little image of Narayana, of the Narayana pair. Now here's a reference from Hari Bhakti Vilas. Mentioned Hari Bhakti Vilas, the how-to manual. So, did you forward it?
Yes, I forward a document to invitation?
Okay. Not now. But those of you that are part of, there's probably a little WhatsApp group, you'll be receiving or have already received a document that I'm going to summarize. And those of you that are not on the WhatsApp group, see him and he'll put you on the WhatsApp group so you can receive it. And it's a nice document. It's taken directly, like a cut and paste, from Hari Bhakti Vilas. As you can see, it's a long section, and it's a discussion about Prahlāda Maharaj and who he was in his previous life. And there's going to be 3 answers. Let me explain. We'll step back from the explanation and go to the point where avatars of Vishnu appear, generally speaking, once in a day of Brahma. Correct? Yes. Just like Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. And he appears during Manu number 7, our present Manu, out of the 14 Manus. So it's kind of like 11 o'clock in the day of Brahma, when Krishna appears. You know, a little bit shy of halfway, because there's 14 Manus and 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas during each day of Brahma. So divide 14 into 1,000. You good at math? It comes to a little bit more than 71, in case you don't have your math down pat. So 71 yugas, 71 cycles of the 4 yugas during each Manu. And then there's a change of Manus. There's a little sandhi, a little juncture in between, and then the next Manu, and then the next Manu, and then the end of the day of Brahma. And when the day of Brahma happens, there's a partial annihilation. Everything it's dark. And then again the next day of Brahma, wakes up in the morning and does what Brahma does. He recreates the universe because it was nighttime, and he has to rebuild it 1,000 times. And so anyway, Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. Nṛsiṁhadeva appears once in a day of Brahma. We heard in the first class, Nṛsiṁha appears during Manu number 6, Chakshusha Manu. It's not the same. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva doesn't appear during the same Manu that we're observing, Krishna's appearance. The previous Manu. And during this previous Manu, there's this description in Hari Bhakti Vilas of, so there are different days of Brahma, different appearances of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, and therefore also different Prahlādas. You with me? It's okay? I'm looking at you. Yeah, you. It's okay? Yes. So sometimes, we'll see shortly. In Canto 7, same canto that we're discussing, but the next chapter, chapter 10, Prahlāda says to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, long ago, from the spiritual world, you sent me here to perform, to participate with you in your pastimes. And one of the teachings that we find in Prabhupada's writings is Prahlāda's Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. A resident of Vaikuntha descending into this plane. He's not, a conditioned soul like the rest of us. He's a Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. That's one of the appearances of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva with Prahlāda. Here's another one. And there may be multiple other ones. That from Hari Bhakti Vilas, the narration is very simple, but it's kind of detailed, so that it covers a number of verses from Hari Bhakti Vilas. There's a Brahmana named, the Brahmana's name, Vishvasharma or something like that. And there's a long description of how he gets deviated from his practices. He ends up cohabiting with a prostitute, and not by design, but by default, he gets in an argument with the prostitute on the very day of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva's appearance, and it was just coincidental, accidental, abhas. There's intentional bhakti, and there's bhakti abhas. It was bhakti abhas kind of category. He didn't mean anything. He just fasted all day, all night, because he got in this argument with his girlfriend. And he got, as a result, he and his girlfriend later became Prahlāda, and later when Prahlāda became a grahasta, that was his wife. Now there's another description where she became an apsara. So here's Canto 7, Chapter 10. This is the Nitya Siddha Prahlāda. So here's another discussion that comes from the Sringa Purana. We mentioned this on our, earlier, in our earlier classes, but it's very similar, not the same, but a fallen Brahmana and a prostitute. And the result, after that, they merged into the Supreme, and then again took birth as Prahlāda and his wife. There are variations on the theme, but that you'll find in a book called Bhakti Sandarbha. That's what BS stands for, Bhakti Sandarbha. Now, those of you that are newer, I hope I'm not making your head spin, because there's names and books and, how am I going to remember all this stuff? But if that's what you're going through, don't worry about the names and the titles of the books and the persons. But it's nice. This is a book written by Jiva Goswami, another one of the 6 Goswamis. They're very special persons in our disciplic line. And they're all great devotees of Lord Chaitanya, who is a devotee of Krishna, or he's playing the role, he's Krishna himself in the role of Krishna's devotee, teaching the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is so important for the followers of Lord Chaitanya, and they wrote, therefore, vast commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. So here's one more, and then we're going to go to the next verse in our Canto 7, Chapter 9. Jyad Nṛsiṁha is a deity pictured at the bottom, and he is located, a celebrated deity, celebrated near, his temple is near Nṛsiṁhadeva. Anybody here from that part of the country? Vishakhapatnam over there? Anyone? Not anyone? Okay. There's the deity photo, and here's the celebrated mantra that they recite regularly before the deity. Shri Nṛsiṁha, Jaya Nṛsiṁha, Jaya Jaya Nṛsiṁha, Prahlāda Desha, Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringha. And then they say it again and say it again and say it again before the deity. It's a very nice verse. All glories to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. All glories to Nṛsiṁhadeva, who is the Lord of Prahlāda Maharaj, and like a honeybee, is always engaged in beholding the lotus face of the goddess of fortune. That's the meaning of the mantra. So a little background, rather than just going on to the next verse, and here's the next verse. We're going to cover 3 verses, 17, 18, 19. And what I've done with the verses is I put some colors, like, Vada Me Tava Dasya Yogam, to indicate something that's within the translation that's important. Oh, great one. Oh, Supreme Lord, this is Prahlāda facing Nṛsiṁhadeva. And he's now calmed down. He stopped roaring. and he's listening to Prahlāda. Because of combination with pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Now, there's two things. The solutions to miseries that are on the material side are more miserable than the miseries. No one can argue, no. But this is, Prahlāda is authoritative, and there's ways. Prabhupada would spend like 15, 20 minutes discussing the miserableness of the remedies of misery. And you, by his analysis, it's clear. Well, supposing someone has some illness, because Jamna Mrityu Jara Vyadi, that when you get disease, you go to a doctor. There was one question that came up, why restrictions? Because we're diseased. So the doctor says, don't eat this and eat that. And more exercise, something. So there's with any difficulty, the remedy for the difficulty has some difficulty. Some injection. Some of you are in the older generation, so you know what I mean. When you get older, things don't work the way they used to work. Wait a while, you'll find out if you're not in the older generation. It's just, it comes with having a body. It gets old. Okay, here we go. Therefore, the remedy is the termination of the miseries, according to the teachings of Prahlāda and according to the teachings of the Bhagavatam, is bhakti. From Bhagavad Gita, you're all at least learned it a little bit in Bhagavad Gita, I'll assume that. And what's the first lesson that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita? You're not the body. It's Sankhya. The first section of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's teaching Sankhya. What's Sankhya? There's categories of matter, and there's categories of spirit, and we belong to the spirit category. We don't belong to the matter category. We have a covering, gross and subtle, but it's not who we are. But the identification with who we aren't is ignorance. And ignorance is the root cause of suffering. So how to get rid of ignorance? Well, you don't just get an eraser or a delete button. You have to have knowledge. Light destroys darkness. Knowledge destroys ignorance. So there's this knowledge of who we are. And how is that going to be accomplished? Supposing somebody, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, for many, bahunam jamanam ante gyanavan mam prapajyate. They finally come to the position, after many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge to get free from ignorance, the light goes on. I'm spirit soul. Fantastic. Now what? Twinkle? What do you do? What is a spirit soul that knows that I'm a spirit soul? What do you do? What's the life of spiritual life? And that life of spiritual life is bhakti. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Very simple definition. Rishikesha is the personality of Godhead. We serve Rishikesha with Rishikas. The senses serve the master of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Bhakti Ruchate. So Prahlāda is saying what that says. I think the real solution is engaging in your service, because when you engage in your service, that's what happens. You want to hear something nice? Yes, let's hear something nice. False ego is dissolved by bhakti. Say it again, please. Oh, very good. That's Kapila Dev to Mother Devahuti. Mother because she was his mother. It's a long description in Canto 3, how that happened, but it happened. And when Kardamoni had a son to look after his mother or his wife, he left. And there she is, Mother Devahuti, with her son. And she's asking him all these questions. And one of the questions is he's explaining Sankhya, chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, but, the graduate study level of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita in Canto 3 of Bhagavatam. And in that course of that, the coverings of the soul, the most subtle of all the coverings of the soul is false ego. Say it this way. When living entities, at the end of the cosmic annihilation, and there's a resting period, and again creation, because things are cyclical. So when living entities are again entered into the field of the material energy, guess what is the first material element that covers the soul? Answer? False ego. It's the first one to come and it's the last one to go. It's very sticky. Very determined, very pernicious, very hard to get rid of. But bhakti can dissolve it. Bhakti does dissolve it. The power of bhakti is that. Therefore, what Prahlāda is saying, the remedies are more miserable than the miseries. And therefore, bhakti, I think, is the only solution. Now, that's one verse. Let's hear some commentary. This is Jiva Goswami. There's a nice photograph or painting of him on the right side. And one of his 4 commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam was called Krama Sandarbha. Krama means step. Like Urukrama or Vikrama. Krama means step. So step by step he goes through the Bhagavatam. And when it comes to this verse, this is what he writes. Krishna, or Nṛsiṁhadeva speaking to Prahlāda, until I call you, you should experience the happiness of the kingdom of your father. Prahlāda, but that's all suffering. At that time, I pray in this manner, tell me about activities as a servant and service to your deity form, the way of meeting you, Dasya Yogam. Commentary. It's, cryptic, but the message is there. He, Prahlāda, wants devotional service as the solution to the miseries of life. Now here's another commentary, because this Bhagavatam is very much loved by our disciplic succession acharyas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is one. What will you do by serving my feet? Please enjoy the happiness from the wealth of the 3 worlds related to Pitris. Prahlāda, I experienced the fire of lamentation through birth, with separation and attainment of wanted and unwanted objects in all wombs. Even in the body of a king, this lamentation is present. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, there are many remedies for the fire of lamentation. Prahlāda, the remedy for suffering only produces more suffering. by thinking that I am happy. Atad adia. Even in the body of a pig, I wander about. Please tell me the method of being your servant. By which method should I attain your service? Please tell me the truth. If I have service to you, I have no suffering at all, in any wombs. In other words, birth after birth, it's okay. But this devotional service is a place of shelter, whatever my particular bodily form might be. Nice? Here's Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports. Material opulence may be somewhat pleasing for the time being, but to come to that position, one has to accept many miseries, which is true. The fact is that in material life, whether one is miserable or happy, both conditions are miserable. Here's Prabhupada distributing Mahaprasada. We're going to do the same thing, but it won't be so chaotic like this. This is Prabhupada's purport, if one actually wants happy, blissful life, one must become Krishna conscious and constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is the real remedy. Service is a remedy? Yes. Let's hear about it. Little bit. No, Prabhupada would speak on this topic for at great length. So I'll just do it in great short space. By constitution, according to the teachings of the Bhagavatam, which are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which are the teachings of the Bhagavatam, the constitution of all living entities is the servant. Jiver Swarupaya Nitya Krishna Das. Swarupa, your form, or spiritual form. What's our spiritual form? Service. And service unto whom? Well, service. Supposing I don't have service to Krishna, then what am I going to serve? There's a long list of what we're going to serve. We serve our family, we serve our country, we serve our parents, we serve our children, we serve our dog, we serve, our senses, we serve. Constitutionally, we're servants, according to scripture and according to reality. So the idea is just turn the channel to the Krishna channel and serve Krishna, because that's our constitutional position that leads to the stage of perfection of life. So it's very simple. Change the channel of service, instead of serving senses or serving material desire or the desire for X, and then X is not sufficient, I want 3X, and 3X isn't sufficient, I want 10X. And here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So Nṛsiṁhadeva may say to Prahlāda, what will you do by serving my feet? Please enjoy the happiness from the wealth of the three worlds related to the Pitris. Prahlāda, I experienced the fire of lamentation through birth with separation. Oh, I meant to delete this because it's already included this. Excuse me. You all know the story. Indra made an offense to Brihaspati, and so he was cursed to take birth on earth as a pig. So there's Indra in a pig form. And Lord Brahma came and said, look, why don't you come back to the spiritual world? To the heavenly realm. It's much nicer there than a pig's life. And the pig said, well, I've got too many responsibilities. I have piglets, and I got, mortgage to pay, and health insurance, and, I have too many responsibilities. Sorry, I have to stay here and be a pig. So like that, misfortune may come, and the misfortune may have a remedy, but the remedy isn't just get an upgrade. The remedy is cease material existence, please. And how is that possible? By spiritual existence, not just by making material existence zero. That's impersonalism or voidism. And neither are solutions, because neither are who we really are. Text 18. Oh, my Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, by engaging in your transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, hamsas, it's right in the final line, hangsa sangaha, yugalaya hangsa sangaha. They're liberated souls. I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who is so dear to me. I shall chant your glories, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciplic succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nescience. So the disciplic succession that we're part of is from Lord Brahma. Many of you know this already, but I'll just say it anyways. There are 4 primary disciplic successions: Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Brahma, and the goddess of fortune, Shri. So the Shri Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, etc. Lakshmi Sampradaya. So Brahma Sampradaya. We're in this Brahma Sampradaya, and the Bhagavatam is written in this way. Those who are in this Brahma Sampradaya, which we are part of, just follow in the footsteps of Brahma. And what does Brahma do? In disciplic succession, chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. So here's our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, in this disciplic succession, and we're just trying to follow him. And gosh, anywhere he went, he was just speaking Krishna Katha, the glories of Krishna, or warning of the perils of getting distracted in the materialistic life and staying focused on Krishna's lotus feet and serving him in loving mood. Here's Prabhupada's purport. Attachment for glorifying the Lord by hearing and chanting the holy name and activities of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, certainly brings one to the position where material contamination is absent. So down below, that's the material contamination. And up above, that's the spiritual world. That's where we belong. There's people in between wondering, do I want to stay here or do I want to go there? Do I want to remain as a pig or do I want to become elevated and go back to the spiritual realm? Again, purport by Prabhupada, accepting the thoughts of exalted authorities through disciplic succession is certainly much easier than the method of mental speculation by which one tries to invent some means to understand the absolute truth. The best process is to accept the instructions of the previous acharyas and follow them. Then God realization and self-realization become extremely easy in comparison to the more complicated and difficult and arduous task of becoming materially successful. Arduous? How many hours, I won't go into it too much, but how many hours collectively in the room, how many hours have we all spent cultivating understanding of how to do XYZ and becoming a successful personality in the XYZ realm? And then watch it all go up into a puff of smoke as artificial intelligence starts to take its place. You know what I mean? Some of you know what I mean. I got on the car ride from Alachua to come here to Fort Lauderdale. halfway, there was a very accomplished devotee who, for some number of years, has worked for Amazon Prime. And he just got notice. He got the boot because a robot's going to take over his job. You know, it's profit. It's not people, it's profit. And so artificial intelligence is going to take over what he's been doing for the last whatever number of years. And he has, a son that's, still young, and a daughter that's in college. And, car insurance and health insurance and, and a mortgage to pay, and, and it just gets the boot. And then he was going on and on and on about it. This is just, it's just a start, because the many occupations, you all know this, I'm not telling you something you don't already know. Many of the occupations built upon years and years and years of academic study, and then years and years of training in your profession, you're expendable. Don't like be startled. Just be ready. And when it comes, the knock on the door that says, it's a big topic. And, it's not scare tactic. It's just wait a while. And watch how professions are just going to disappear. I'll say one little thing. It's just like, whoa. He said, this devotee that drove me said, in the headquarters of Tesla is where? Austin, Texas. In Austin, Texas, they now have a policy in the city of Austin that cars don't have drivers. And that means the whole, Uber and taxi situation and buses are just going to be no longer needed. It's an occupation that however many people have those occupations in the city of Austin aren't going to have an occupation anymore. And it's not going to stop in Austin. It's, and same with, you name it. What's going to be, the new world that's a world of, enjoyment is something's going to happen. You can laugh about it or cry about it, one or the other, but it's going to happen. Wait a while, and it doesn't take too long. So, enough of that. The process of self-realization and God-realization, they're equivocal, because without God-realization, there isn't really self-realization. You don't really know who you are without knowing that you're part of something. You're part and parcel of, we're all part of something. But when we forget that, then we're covered by another energy. Here's this Hari Bhakti Vilas. I made reference to this. There's an image, a painting of Sanatana Goswami, and he, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, chapter 10, comments on this verse. Oh, my Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, by engaging in your transcendental loving service, in the association of liberated souls, I will certainly become freed from the association of the three modes of nature, and thus able to chant your glories. I shall chant your glories, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciplic succession. In this way, I will undoubtedly be able to cross the formidable ocean of material existence. So that's high, but it's permanent. It's not temporary. It's not cosmetic. It's not make something look better, but it's rotten inside. And wait a while, it's just going to fall apart because it's rotten inside. Something that's of substance, not temporary or impermanent. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes on this verse, though you attain, this is Nṛsiṁhadeva, may say, though you attain service to me, still you should seek some other solution for the miseries of material life. Prahlāda reveals some anger and pride. Your pure devotee is famous as a servant of Narada, that's himself. I, Prahlāda, do not accept jnana or karma like others, even in my dreams. Chanting your pastimes, I surpass the gunas. If I have surpassed the gunas, what's the question of the so-called suffering or the solution for suffering? Nṛsiṁhadeva might argue. But one sees suffering in devotees also. Prahlāda, I will quickly, completely cross over the pain of separation from you. That's the suffering of a devotee. Attaining direct service to you will not be delayed long, because by the mercy from chanting about you, I will associate with your associates whose abodes are the lotuses of your feet, and they will bring me to you. Brahma has also glorified you, because previous to his prayers, the demigods were offering their prayers. Since these topics are authorized by him, there is definite value for anyone in chanting your glories. You are the master of the devotees, having Madhurya Ras, Sakya Ras, Dasya Ras, like me. And I think I included this elsewhere. And here's the last verse for this evening. My Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporary beneficial, are certainly impermanent. Again, Jiva Goswami commenting, other things are not effective. Why do other scriptures recommend these methods? It's a good question. Answer, for persons opposed to you. The remedy, by direct instruction, most desired by them, is for decreasing their determination. The slow boat. I mean, Prabhupada tells this very interesting story. It's a long story. The interesting story of an advisor to a king. And the advisor to a king is, without all the length of the story, there's a yogi that's doing meditation in water, in freezing cold water. And the king sees there's a flame up on top of a pole, and he says he's getting energy from that flame on top of the pole. He's cheating. So then his minister says, come tomorrow, I'll teach you about this. So he comes, I'm skipping some details. So his minister is preparing his breakfast. And the king is waiting and waiting and waiting. Where's my breakfast? He said, it's up on, there's a little flame. The pot, the rice pot is up there, and the flame is down here. It's going to take a while. There's some details in between, but so things may be recommended, just like, those of you that have children, you may recommend things to your children. And it's not like something that you would recommend for your brother or sister or dear friend, but to children it's like, something that they can handle and they can do for a while until they get distracted and do something else. So there's a beginning. And scripture, according to the description of the Vedas, they're like a desire tree, a kalpa vriksha, which means a tree that can provide anything. You just kalpa, and there it is. So something material, something spiritual, something mixed, it's got it. The Vedas give prescriptions, karma kanda, for example, how to get, you name it, And there's mantras and procedures and tantras and yagyas and things to get what you want. Health, without all the details, it's robust. But why all these material things? Because some persons don't want the spiritual things. It's slower, but there's elevation in the principle that I'm accepting the authority of the Vedas. And for my livelihood and my social well-being and peace of mind, I follow the Vedas. I'm Hindu. I follow the Vedas. Good. It can be slow. So this is Jiva Goswami's question. Why? Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We're almost done. Without you, no remedy for suffering is successful. Mother and father are not protectors of a child, since one sees that a child suffers even if they are protected, if they protect him. Sometimes even try to kill their children, as in the case of Ajigartha, who sold his son, Sunapeksha, as a human sacrifice. Now, you may not know that detail, but you can find it if you want. It's described in the 9th Canto Bhagavatam. There was a king who had 3 sons, and one of his sons he sold for a human sacrifice. And he was sacrificed. Karmakanda. It's not the right kind of karmakanda, but it's a kind of karmakanda. So protection from mother and father is not guaranteed. That's a point. Medicine is no protection for a sick person, since even persons who take medicine die. A boat is not a shelter for a person drowning in the ocean, for one sees the boat also sink. Thus, suffering persons who, by their desire, do not recognize you, do not obtain a solution to their problems by the remedies. So what to do? Bhakti, that's the conclusion. That's the conclusion of this little section. For example, a father says, this is Prabhupada's commentary, and note that his commentary is exactly following Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Now the pictures, that's mine, but the words are this Prabhupada's purport. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. A boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So what to do? Devotional service. Ultimately, the shelter is the Lord. And one who takes shelter of the Lord is protected. This is guaranteed. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Now, bodies will perish, but souls don't. And souls that are protected by the Supreme, guess what? They don't take another birth. They go to the Supreme because of that shelter and absorption. So we didn't finish the chapter, but we finished 3 verses and a little narration in between. So I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life. Some of you may be here for the rest of your life, but I'm heading for his home shortly after leaving here. I'll be going to Detroit, and I'll continue. So I won't be able to complete. I really like, 2 things, at least. I really like Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhavoshada Shrotra Manobi Ramat. It's a medicine you take through your ear. And when you take it through your ear, it cleanses the heart. And when the heart becomes cleansed or pure, then the solution to anything becomes more clear, because we become confused because our heart's not clear. But when the heart is clear, then intelligence from the Supersoul comes much more readily, and the intelligence that comes from the Scripture comes much more readily. So I'm Srimad Bhagavatam junkie. I'm addicted. Practice Krishna Bhakti for over 55 years, and something happens. Chanting and serving and hearing and speaking, and it has this effect. And keep going and keep going, and a qualitative keep going, and the door to the spiritual world is open. Krishna's beckoning, please come. Please come. And we could be like Indra saying, well, I've got my piglets, I have my responsibilities here. But it's true, we can't just abdicate responsibilities, but slowly, as your life goes towards Krishna direction, those other things slowly start to just somehow diminish in their importance, and they're taken up by someone who considers them to be particularly important. Krishna will take care. Krishna will provide and protect for everyone, so that's not the worry. The worry is forgetfulness of who we really are, and what's the purpose of this human form of life. What am I supposed to do with this thing? I got one. What am I supposed to do with it? So the Bhagavatam gives us the direction and the medicine, the remedy for the peril of material existence. And anyone that thinks that material existence is not perilous, there's names for people like that. Foolish, mistaken. They're inviting a rude awakening when something comes that is for sure coming, and when it for sure comes, it's not a surprise. It's just for sure it's coming. So, take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and apply it. As your personality and your lifestyle and the things that you do that are important to you, and all apply that which you can, and then little by little, as time passes, the clarity of how significant this message is, the direction of life moving towards the source of everything, and dedicating everything to service to that source of everything. That's the principle. Yad karoshi, yad asyasi, yad jahosi dadasi, yad, the verse from Bhagavad Gita. Yat tapasyasi konteya tat karashra madarpanam. Worship me with whatever, and learn the art of doing that. And it starts with this process of hearing, so the heart becomes cleansed, so you can see what's what when the heart is cleansed. And then you just live your life a little differently, oriented towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam is magical like that. And with a little faith, step by step, going in that direction. Just by the very simple activity, as we're doing right now, just hearing. And chanting with electric guitar. And Krishna Prasadam. Very simple, 1, 2, 3. That's how Prabhupada started the Hare Krishna movement, and that's what we're doing. The format, the location, and things are different, but the principle is the same. the path to the spiritual world, the path of perfection, at least the path of spiritual progress. So let's see if there's some discussion. Here we are over in this corner.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this wonderful class. I'm a little confused.
You?
In the very beginning, we heard that Prahlāda Maharaj, in his previous life, he was Brahmana, and then he married, he was involved with a prostitute. To make a long story short, then he came back. So then I'm confused. If it's Nitya Siddha, then how does this story come into play?
How does which?
That he was a Brahmana in his previous life.
Well, I tried to explain, but I can do it again. There's days of Brahma, and during each day of Brahma, avatars appear of different, categories of avatars. So Nṛsiṁha appears during the Manu number 6 in each day of Brahma. So when Nṛsiṁhadeva appears, with him comes an associate. Now, that associate can be from Vaikuntha realm, as described. We show it on the screen, Canto 7, Chapter 10, verse number 4. Prahlāda says to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, you sent me here from the spiritual world. Nitya Siddha. So Nitya means Nitya, but there are different days of Brahma. So he's Nitya Siddha. At the end, he goes back to Vaikuntha, and then another day of Brahma, another person who bears the name Prahlāda appears. And, who was he before he was Prahlāda in that other day of Brahma? He was something and something and something.
We're talking about two different
Two different days of Brahma, and therefore two different spirit souls. Not the Nitya Siddha Prahlāda, but another one, and then another one. And, we have scriptural reference for two, who knows how many.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, very nice class today. So in your PowerPoints, you have very wonderful pictures.
Yeah.
And I make PowerPoints for my dad's Sunday class.
Okay.
So I would also like to know, how do you get such wonderful pictures of the Lord and his associates?
I'm not telling. There's like multiple different sources, because I've been at this a little bit longer than you have, right? So I've got this source and that source and the other source. Like this one that you see on the screen, that's just right from the internet. Here's what I do. For this one, this is what I did this morning. This afternoon. So I got my browser and put Sanatana Goswami images. Click. And then there's images. And there's all kinds of gobbledygook and other things. But, this was the right size, the right shape, the right vertical, and clear. And I've seen this one before, so, the resolution is relatively reasonable. So that's how I got this one. And then there's other ones, and there's other ones. Over, some number of years, I have a little library, and then I know which ones. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj, is that also applicable for other personalities? Like you said about Prahlāda Maharaj, be different Prahlāda Maharajas accordingly.
Yeah.
Lord Shiva also? Because I've heard that about Lord Shiva in the distant past, and I can't remember where.
Lord Shiva is not a post. He's a tattva. And so, as a tattva, Lord Shiva, is a transformation of the glance of Mahavishnu. Just the same Mahavishnu is not a post. And the glance of Mahavishnu becomes Sada Shiva, and that Sadashiva, by transformation, becomes the Lord Shiva of our universe. And then he makes his appearance as the direct from the body of Brahma, the offspring of Brahma. So my understanding, that's a little detail. My understanding is it's not different entities take that post and take the name Shiva. But it's not a post. It's a tattva. That's my understanding. So it's not like Prahlāda, or not like a living entity that in different days of Brahma there's a different Lord Shiva.
So we can assume that one tattva is singular.
Yes,
And we'll,
that's my understanding.
Okay.
Now, when we you can say, do you have a scriptural reference for that, Maharaj? And I don't have a scriptural reference for that. That's my understanding, based upon what I just said. There's a tattva, like for example, Shakti tattva. There's a tattva. So there are the Lord has unlimited Parasya Shakti Vivid, but there's not different personalities can occupy that post of the Lord's Shaktis. They're eternal associates of the Lord as his Shaktis. For example, or here's another for example. For example, when it was time for Krishna to conclude his pastimes, I was a little puzzled by this till I read the commentaries more carefully. When Krishna departed this world, there were two categories. There are some living entities that descended from the heavenly realm when Lord Vishnu told the demigods, you take birth on earth and assist me in my pastimes, and they were sent back to the heavenly realm. And then there's Nitya Siddhas, they went back to the spiritual world. So there's two categories that were involved in Krishna's pastimes. And then just categories, but the individual, they're the eternal associates of Krishna. So now to go back to the question of Lord Shiva, is that an eternal tattva, or is it a tattva that is occupied by different entities that then become Lord Shiva? And my understanding is it's a tattva it's just simply a tattva, like the Shaktis of the personality of Godhead is a certain tattva. You can't become one of Krishna's tattvas, one of Krishna's Shaktis. He has his eternal Shaktis. And there's an eternal Lord Shiva. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna and Radhe Krishna. I really enjoyed your lectures. I couldn't come earlier also, but I listened on the videos. I'm a very beginner here, so I have, I think, very low-level questions which you can answer. See, I get confused about this Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga because the whole...
Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole Gita is based on that he tells Arjuna to do his Karma Yoga and do his duty. And then the whole thing shifts towards Bhakti Yoga, that he, if do Bhakti, then we attain God. So why God did not tell Krishna at that time to do his Bhakti rather than do his karma? So like we also have duties like as a mother, as a wife, or as a profession. So should we do our duties, or we should just do the Bhakti? If the Bhakti is like Prahlāda says that it's all suffering, right? So why should we involve in all those things? You are involving me in my father's luxuries, but these are all suffering, and so just do Bhakti. So why he didn't tell Krishna and
I got the question.
Okay. It's confusing.
Just hold the microphone to the next person. He's got a question. You had your hand up? No. Okay. He'll have a question. Another one. Count on it. You've heard the term yoga ladder. Ladders have rungs. The purpose is to go to the top rung And so at the end of chapter 6, Krishna says, here's the top rung, bhakti. But before bhakti, there's other rungs, Sankhya, karma, jnana, dhyana, bhakti. So it's a step. So the principle, I'll say it slowly, the principle of karma yoga is detachment from the fruits of work. And so what do you do when you do work? You get fruits, you offer the fruit to the Supreme. That's karma yoga. Do your duty. You know the verse from Bhagavad Gita. Karma yeda varkaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Everyone knows the verse. So you're not entitled to the phala. What do you do with the phala? You offer it to Krishna. And that way, you're not touching it. It's not yours. It's the ability to do the work comes from the source, from Krishna. And then the fruit of the work goes to Krishna. Now, goes to Krishna can mean Krishna has provided me with a house. Krishna has provided me with stuff, everything. So let me do that everything as an offering unto the Supreme. It's not mine. It's not mine. It belongs to the Supreme. Isavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything belongs to the Supreme. Karma yoga is acknowledging that. And at work, I'm a dutiful mother, a dutiful housewife, a dutiful professional person, and dutiful citizen, and I drive on the right side, not on the left side. I follow the laws because I'm dutiful. And that's dharma. That's, follow prescribed duty. That's good. And then, what's the, listen carefully. When one who does like that, what happens? According to the yoga ladder, the covering of illusion starts to diminish, and I start to see reality a little better than illusion. And the reality is, you know what? I'm an eternal part of the Supreme. Gyan, yoga, can take the next rung of the yoga ladder, and therefore we find chapter 4 comes after chapter 3. Transcendental knowledge. And there's an emphasis on understanding. It's already introduced in chapter 2, but now it's more specific. So the identity, detaching myself from the misidentification with who I'm not, that I'm a this and I'm a that and I'm a dutiful this and a that. So it doesn't mean become complacent or take dharma and throw it in the trash, but let me do this dharma more with focus on realizing my eternal identity. Not doing dharma for the sake of getting dharma points, prosperity, because with dharma comes artha. And I want prosperity, so I do my duties nicely because I get some prosperity points in this life and the next life. So that's part of the whole system. But that's this little statement by Jiva Goswami. Why are these other statements there if bhakti is it? Why are these other statements there? Which your question is, yes. So it's a step. Because some people aren't ready for the next step. They're not ready to be gyanis. They're not ready to be tyagis. They're not ready to be mystics. They're not ready to be, at a higher level. So they're doing. So then what's bhakti? It's very simple. In case one doesn't understand the simple, it's two things. I invite you, please look carefully at the very last verse of chapter 6 Bhagavad Gita. And it's two things, what the mind does and what the body does. Think of me, engage in my devotional service. What the mind does, what the body does. So what you both, not just one or the other, but both. And with a mood of making my life, this soul that now I've understood who I am, and I offer myself to the Supreme, and while so doing, my activities, work, or my duties in life. My duties are still duties, but I'm doing those things for Krishna. So Krishna's at the center, not over on the side. Right in the center. It's a mature stage.
My only doubt is Arjuna was also prosperous and he was very talented in everything. He had everything, prosperity.
Yeah.
But even to us, he didn't tell him to just sit and chant his name.
He didn't do what?
Worship me or chant my name or do this thing and come to me and I'll support you. He told them to go into a war, big karma.
But that's bhakti. When Krishna was, I told this narration midday. When Indraprastha was built, what was the circumstance for when Indraprastha was built? It was Khandava Prastha. It was just a forest.
Right.
And there was a big forest fire, and Arjuna protected Agni because Agni needed to devour the forest, so because of some illness, etc., etc. So he protected so he could devour the forest. But there was one entity that came out of the forest. That was Mayadanava. You know the story?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so Arjun protected. So Mayadanava took shelter of Arjun, said, "Thank you, you saved my life."
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, so I'd like to do some service. We told the story today. Arjuna said, Kshatriyas don't do something to get something, to get some, dakshin or something. That's a brahmana. No thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. And Krishna said, say yes, don't say no. Because he can build you up, not you, but build for your family and your elder brother this fantastic palace. He has the ability. So say yes. And then you have that. So then they build Indraprastha. Mayadanava did out of a reciprocation of what Arjuna did. And then this is part of what I narrated earlier today. They had a big festival and they invited Duryodhana. Hey, come see our palace. It's better than yours. They didn't say it quite like that, but so then he fell in the pool when he thought it was land, and then everyone started laughing. And Yudhishthira said, "That's not nice. Don't laugh." Krishna said, "Laugh."
He did?
Yeah, because he knew what would happen. What would happen is Duryodhana got into get-back mood. Krishna wanted to precipitate the war because he appeared for the purpose of removing the demoniac kings. It was just a procedure that Krishna followed to help, the next thing on his pastime of Krishna wanted. So when Arjuna understood what Krishna wanted, it wasn't duty, it was bhakti. Now that's a hard one for some people.
Yeah, because he said you as Kshatriya, so you have to do your duty.
But it's not just Kshatriyas because Krishna wanted. Because as a Kshatriya, he could also walk away. That's what he wanted to do. Walk away and go to the forest and say Haribol. But Krishna wanted it. When he understood what Krishna wanted, he's ready. And what Krishna wanted, he said later, how difficult it is that you have to kill my grandfather. When our father was gone, he raised us like father. He's our grandfather, not just in age, but he cared for us like little children. And they weren't little children by that time, but that he took care of us, etc. And my teacher, Drona, and I can't do it. I can't do it. Krishna can't do it. You got to do it. Okay, I'll do it. You instruct me. Then Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita message. The Bhagavad Gita message is to teach us not just do your duty, but come to the stage of these two things, mind and your activities focused on Krishna in love and devotion. That's what made it. It wasn't just do it because it's your duty. That's not that wasn't the button. Because Krishna wanted it. And that's the position of a servant to a master. The servant just wants to know what the master wants, and when the master wants, that's what the servant wants. And he does, because that's what the master wants. Even if it's difficult. Even if it's very difficult, that's what the master wants. That's bhakti. It's not duty. No, on the platform of duty, there may be some things that you do in your work or in your home or wherever that's not like, oh, yummy, I really can't wait till I have to do this nice thing. But you do it because it's duty. But then higher is bhakti. That, Krishna is to be pleased. That's it. That's it. And whatever pleases Krishna, that's it. And if something isn't pleasing to Krishna, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's hard to know what it pleases
But
when you're doing your
we
duty.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's just speak on principle. Besides, it's hard to know, to discern what's,
What is a karma and what is karma? He says in Gita also, right?
Yeah, the principle of bhakti is that Krishna should be pleased. Are you familiar a little bit? I'm sorry I'm dwelling on this, but it's a nice topic. So I think everyone will benefit from this topic. So Rupa Goswami, you know who is Rupa Goswami?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So he wrote one of his special books was Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar Devotion. And in that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he gives the definition of bhakti, and it's superlative. You know the verse? Not everybody speak it up, but do you know the verse?
No, I don't know. I don't remember.
There's two parts to the verse. First, he says what bhakti isn't, and then he says what bhakti is.
Okay.
And when he says what bhakti is anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. It's uttama bhakti, topmost bhakti, because there's shades and gradations. But topmost bhakti is whatever it is that's pleasing to Krishna, you do that. And then the beginning is, it doesn't include karma and gyan.
Mm-hmm.
Leave that over there, including karma yoga. Because the same as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha. No, Krishna is saying sarva dharmam parityaja. As Krishna is saying to Arjuna, take this dharma principle that you have been living your life by and put it in the garbage can. Is that what he's saying? No. Then what is he saying? That dharma that's motivated by artha. I get some karma benefit, 5 gold stars after my name in this life, and I'm going to become wealthy, or I'm going to become whatever in this life, the next life, and Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. Yeah. So it's not that. Motivated by the fruit of good karma or karma yoga is I'm not attached to the fruit. And beyond karma yoga is bhakti yoga. And what's that? Krishna is to be pleased. That's it. That's it.
When he says sarv dharma, like leave all the dharmas, is it the duty or is it the religion's dharma?
No, it's the purpose behind the activity, the karma, the purpose of elevation, material elevation.
Mm-hmm.
The artha, because it starts dharma artha, and then what's the purpose of the artha? Kama. It's leaving aside sense gratification. That whole trajectory, leave it aside. And gyan, he's not saying be ignorant, but the cultivation of knowledge for knowledge's sake. Leave that to the side also. So there's knowledge in bhakti, but it's not the empiric knowledge and blinders on of just I'm spirit soul. I'm a twinkling star in the sky. And that's who I am. I am aham brahmasmi. That's who I am. I don't do anything. I hum.
Yeah. But dharma was duty or religion? Like, leave Jainism or Buddhism.
Well, then now we're looking at definitions. What's religion? So
because it's sarv dharma pradaksh. So dharma is your duty dharma or the real like Christianity and all other things.
You as a Vaishnavi, a devotee of Krishna, continue being a good mother. Continue being a good citizen. Continue being a good person. Don't trash it. Continue being dharmic, but for Krishna only, not for anything else. The mature stage is that's the mature stage.
You don't have to like leave dharma. Or
That's right. That's right. Please don't. The motivation that's the artha motivation, and behind the artha motivation is kama. Okay, we're having a nice discussion. I'm very happy. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You talk about instruction, that Srila Prabhupada was quite elderly. Because of the instruction of his spiritual master,
Yes.
he left everything
Oh, left everything.
and came to the West to
Yes.
deliver us. If he did not do that,
Where
we
would
would
we
not be here.
That's right. That's for sure. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just have a follow-up on what His Grace Nṛsiṁha Prabhu said regarding Shiva. So we said, when
This is the Shiva topic.
yeah, well, kind
That's
of,
okay. I'm
yeah.
just asking.
So when Lord Krishna summoned Brahma, and when he came, he thought he was only one, and then Krishna brought all the rest of the Brahmas there.
Yeah, that's a pose.
Right. So they're supposed to living entities. Okay, that I understand. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also says all the Shivas came. So that's where I'm getting confused.
But Shiva Tattva is one entity.
So does it mean Lord Shiva expanded himself?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
But one Tattva.
Okay.
Not a post. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
I think we should end. Are we ready to end? Say yes. Okay. And I'm going to excuse myself. I'm going to distribute prasadam and then run out the door because tomorrow morning I have an early class, Zoom class with the Chinese devotees, and I like to chant before I do things like that. So I'm going to disappear out the front door. Srila Prabhupada.